Wait, I first have to start off with what the hell is in this smoothie that everyone loves? This purple smoothie.
Yes. Okay. So I launched a smoothie with Earth Bar, which is what state are you in, by the way? I don't
I'm in
even,
Arizona. I'm in
you're in Arizona.
Scottsdale.
Okay. So you're not far.
Yeah.
Um, there are Earth Bars. It's like a smoothie shop all around California.
Does it have food too? I feel like, is there one in Laguna?
I believe so. Yeah. But anyway, so I launched a smoothie with them. It's called the Genius Smoothie, and it's super tasty. I was never much of a smoothie guy, but I launched the smoothie with them, which is like not overly sweet. There's no bananas in it. I feel like most of the time when you go to get a smoothie, it's like all frozen banana. It just leaves you in a glycemic coma afterwards. So mine is like primarily blueberries, and we get a little bit of frozen avocado, which is very low glycemic,
Yeah, yeah.
really rich in healthy fats. Um, and then some whey protein, which is super high biological value, source of essential amino acids and branched chain amino acids, and then
Mm-hmm.
cinnamon, a cacao extract. Yeah, it's bon. It tastes like an oatmeal cookie. It's really freaking good, and people have been loving it, which is awesome.
That's
So
awesome. Well, I would totally check it with my continuous blood glucose monitor but
love that.
everyone's different. That's the one thing I found is that with like checking your blood sugar, definitely there are some things that just don't spike it as much, but it's a little individual.
Yeah,
But that sounds delicious. It sounds
it's
like something I would put like if I were going to do it. I mean, like a little banana is lovely, like a quarter of a banana even, just to
fair.
like make it creamy. But the avocado does the job.
Yeah, it's creamy.
Yeah,
It's You would like it, I think. And people that follow me have been who wear CGMs
yeah.
have been posting some. I mean, I've seen like two or three people post like their curves, and it doesn't seem to spike blood sugar at all.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Good
if
for
that's a
you.
thing. Yeah, it's like a brain boosting smoothie that also has a great source of protein, good for muscle protein synthesis. And yeah, it's cool. Like in LA, there's the Haley Bieber smoothie over at Erewhon, and then there's like the Max Lugavere Genius smoothie at Earth Bar. So it's like it feels kind of cool to be in that arena.
So what are you into these days? Like I mean, when it comes to like health, I feel like people ask me all the time, they're like, what are you eating these days? Like, what are you doing these days? People, when I'm traveling and working and they have to order meals for me or get meals for whatever it is that I'm doing, events or planes or anything, they're like, what are you eating? So I feel like there's always something in the testing and being tested and run. So like, what is that for you right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think I continue to advocate for the consumption of minimally processed foods like animals and plants, which is like so controversial online, and to me it's like the least controversial thing ever. Um but like people in the nutrition space, they're very polarized by their diet tribes, whatever those happen to be, whether it's like the plant-based community or the carnivore community or like the low carb community or the keto community.
Yeah.
The things that I'm really enjoying talking about lately, um, I actually, my views on dairy have changed. I don't know where you stand on dairy, but I used to be like, when I first got into the wellness world, there's this dogma that like dairy is bad. It's
Oh
like
yeah.
not
I didn't eat
clean.
dairy for years.
Yeah. And I get it. Like a lot of people are lactose intolerant, and you get a lot of pressure from the plant-based community not to consume dairy, and there's a lot of money from the plant-based alternative like milks, to steer consumers away from dairy. But if you actually look at like what it is, it's an incredibly nutrient dense food. It's one of the most nutrient dense foods available to people, right? And it's very inexpensive, and it's got all these like micronutrients in it, great source of protein, especially when you look at specific dairy products like Greek yogurt or um, whey protein, which I'm a big fan of. And I'm not sponsored by the dairy industry. It's just that I went and I looked at the research on dairy, and it's really not like, it's not inflammatory. Like there's like this, people think that like milk is intrinsically inflammatory. It's not. And so I've been enjoying sort of like talking about that a bit, because I think it's really important, especially when you're in a position of influence in the nutrition sphere, to share with people where your views change. I mean,
Mhm,
because that's what
mhm.
science is. It's like iterative, and if you're not willing to check your beliefs and your assumptions on a regular basis, then you're not really, that's like not scientific. You're just like
Right.
being dogmatic.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah.
So I agree. Let's see, I went gluten and dairy free probably like back in like 2013, and then probably 2015 paleo, and then I stayed like that for quite a while, until probably last year, maybe 2021 ish. And but now this sort of raw dairy
Mm,
market is very intriguing. And when you think about the how many how much healthy bacteria and how much bioavailable nutrients there are, and it's not stripped with heat and all these processing mechanisms to clean it. You kind of have an alive food versus a
yeah.
dead food. And so and then I also would do more of goat cheese. I've always loved goat cheese, but I cut that out even for that time period. So goat cheese and feta, because it's goat and sheep, right? So it's not really dairy, essentially. I believe that's what I've been told. And then raw, and then some raw stuff. So raw cream, kefir or kefir. How do you pronounce it?
I think it's kefir, but kefir sounds more like legit, like, in its
Oh yeah,
origin language. Like I would believe that
it's
if you
more
just
like
said that.
Target versus Target.
Yeah, exactly.
So we'll go with kefir.
Yeah.
And butter, raw butter. So all the raw stuff, and you guys can get that pretty easy in California.
It is pretty easy to find. Yeah, I think at like Sprouts we now have raw dairy, and I allegedly raw dairy. I haven't vetted this for myself, but raw dairy has lactose in it, which is the
Mhm,
problematic sugar that 75% of the global population has difficulty digesting. But it
mhm.
also allegedly has lactase in it, which is the enzyme. So
Oh,
what lactose intolerance is an inability to produce the lactase enzyme, which breaks down lactose.
oh,
But apparently and again, this is just like I haven't vetted this, but apparently raw dairy has lactase in it to make it, you can basically like easily digest it even if you're lactose intolerant. So
nature made it perfect.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, so I'm a big fan of like minimally processed foods and like animal products. I think really really valuable. I've been sort of batting heads with a lot of the science coming out lately is really, I mean, seemingly funded by the food industry, and I think with the intent of leading consumers astray. Well, I don't know if
Mm.
that's the intent, but it certainly seems that way. And there's this push, I think, towards like highly processed, ultra processed foods these days, from our most trusted academic institutions, and I think it's a big problem. I mean, today, 60% of people consume, like, the calories that most people consume are by and large from these like ultra processed foods. These are the foods that line our supermarket
Oh,
aisles. They're shelf stable.
they're not
They
real. They're like not even real food.
Exactly. And they're really at the foundation of the epidemic of modern chronic disease, which includes obesity. And you'd be surprised how much like dissuading consumers from those kinds of foods you actually get like pushback from like the industry, and it's just like really maddening.
That's their cognitive dissonance. You have
Yeah.
cognitive dissonance around seeing a character in a movie playing
Yeah.
a different role, but these people are like, don't mess with my Pop Tarts. Like,
Yeah.
those are my life.
Yeah. And they're all, I mean, I think they're all chills for the food industry at this point. It's really sad. And so I understand why so many consumers are confused when it comes to like what it means to eat healthily these days. Um, so yeah, it's a big problem.
Cheaper too. I mean, you look at a lot of stuff. I mean, things that take giant multi-million dollar, billion dollar industries with factories and all these, trucks and everything it takes to get the product to market. And then it's $1.19. And then you see something else that's pulled out of the dirt and put on a shelf and it's $5.99. And so it seems counterintuitive. Like, why do you think that there's such a difficulty for people to transition to recognizing how bad some things are for you?
Well, I think a lot of it does come from the food industry. I mean, you walk through like your average supermarket, And there's some ridiculous percentage. I forget exactly what it is, but by and large, the supermarkets are filled these days with these kinds of foods, right? And these are the foods that make health claims. So, like, you see the red heart healthy logo on the canola oil, right? But you don't typically see it on extra virgin olive oil
Right. Or a beet, it's
or a
not like
beet.
there's a sticker that says like good for your heart.
Yeah, exactly. On beets or on broccoli or even on eggs, right? Like eggs are one of nature's perfect foods. Like